Do it.
Right.
Okay. All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Astro Read. This is the first ever episode of the Astro Read. We're recording audio and we're recording video. And so you will see and hear us depending on whether you find us on Spotify or YouTube or elsewhere down the road. So I'll start by introducing myself real quick. I am Nayelli. I run an astrology brand called Astronatic, astrology startup brand, very startup. And I'm one half of the lovely duo that is the Astro Read. So Clary, why don't you go next?
Hi, how are you guys? My name is Stella and I run Bella Star Astrology. And I'm out here helping people bring astrology to their lives on a practical level, and I'm also a life coach. So I'm taking all of the experience that I've had as a life coach now for more than 5 years, as well as an astrologer, not new astrologer, because I've been studying astrology for 10 years, but now taking it more seriously than ever because the obsession just won't die. So now I've helped my friends, my family, people, strangers on the street, makeup artists, so many people, and just the same comment every time, like, why don't you do this professionally? Why don't you talk to people every day about astrology? So I'm taking all of the advice from the many people that I've helped, my makeup artist, my massage therapist, who is like crying by the end of my massage therapy, like, how did you know? That's the best part about astrology, that I don't know everything. I'm not going to lie to you. I can't tell you exactly what's going to happen tomorrow, but I can tell you the energies of the moment and how you can take advantage of them. And that's the best part about astrology. It's like this wise, map that we've been given as human beings to decide how we're going to live our lives, right? It's a guide on how we can use, for example, the sun in Leo that's coming up, to have some fun and to bring some energy into a project that we're trying to do. So these types of conversations about astrology, about how you can improve your life with astrology and this moment, even a little bit about certain law of attraction tips that I myself use with astrology, because it's not magic, it's a guide. So take advantage of it when the moment is right to buy a house, when the moment is right to get into a contract, when the moment is right to get into a relationship, which I think we're going to be talking about I don't know, in this episode or in the next.
Might be the next one, because we've got a lot to cover in this one, just introducing ourselves. But yeah, it's so definitely fun. Coming up. Yeah.
And then, of course, just celebrity news. We are pretty obsessed with how celebrities live their lives.
Yeah.
And definitely how the astrology, because they are such a great example about how astrology impacts us every day. I mean, we all know right now, J-Lo's back in a relationship that's reflective of the astrology from back in the early 2000s. Yeah. Now, why is that? And that's another topic that we can go into in the future. Yeah. But those types of conversations, as well as how we can use the energy, maybe learning about our own natal chart astrology in the 5th house when we have a positive transit, and how we can do something with that. So, and what else do you want to talk about? Tell me more, Nayelli.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think one thing I want to point out is how interesting our backgrounds are. I feel like we incorporate the work that we do, that we have done or do in addition or outside of astrology into our astrology style, which I think is so great. I think it's important for people to realize that not all astrologers are the same. How they read charts are different because there's different techniques, different house systems, which maybe could be covered in a future episode. That's a whole other can of worms. And just different styles, right? So when it comes to you have a life coach background, that's a technique you're very well versed in. You're a life coach, you know how to do it. So you incorporate that into the type of astrology you do, which I find really interesting and fascinating. Like, you're able to look at somebody's natal chart, the upcoming transits that are coming, and give life tips for basically somebody to life hack, their lives with astrology.
Yeah.
And then with me, I feel like I do focus on transits a little bit, but very slight, which I guess is maybe, I guess could be considered a shortcoming, but also like, I guess it's just part of my style. Like, so my background is more counseling. So I started, I mean, I do astronautics, but then my full-time career is working at a university, helping students find jobs. So I've been in career services in the university system for, let's see, I started in 2012 in that kind of career path. So for almost 10 years. So like 9.5 years at this point. And so, and then I also have a counseling background. So I feel like I kind of use astrology as a way to just look at somebody's natal chart and kind of get a sense of, okay, this is the person's natal chart. These are the puzzle pieces that they're born with. This is their, like you said, it's like a guide, right? So this is your guide. These are the puzzle pieces you have. This is what you have to work with. And it's like, how can you live your most authentic life knowing that this is the setup that you have in your makeup? And what I like about how we both approach astrology is it seems like what we have in common, one of the things we have in common is we don't approach astrology in such a faded way. Like we use it as a tool for empowerment. So I don't think either of us takes the approach of, oh, okay, you have Chiron in the fifth house, you are destined to never have love in your life, or it's always going to be a challenge. I think we take the approach of these components are in your chart. How can you work with it to really make the most out of your life, to be empowered? As far as the Astro Read, I think our backgrounds on how we approach natal charts and how we approach astrology is really going to end up being a very interesting dynamic, because I think I think it's going to be fun. Like, I mean, we were just like doing a pre-recording before this recording, and we were like getting into it. Like it was exciting. And we realized, okay, we have to press record now so we can start this episode and share all our insights with our viewers. But how we approach charts is going to be so interesting, because I think, Clari, you're very good about seeing what transits are going to come up and how that's going to affect somebody's experience and how they can work with that. And I think we both also can focus on, okay, this is a person's natal chart. This is most likely why this is happening in the person's life, or this could provide, or it's likely that an individual, whether it's a celebrity or one of our viewers or one of our upcoming interviewees, will be able to see from their natal chart, okay, this is likely why they've had this experience, or this is likely a personality trait of theirs. But like you were mentioning, you know, things that we're planning on covering on the Astro Read in future episodes is getting into celebrity news, like and I feel like that's become such a trend in astrology now. But
it's a fun trend. People are doing fun things. And I really want to take advantage. Like, celebrities are going through some deep things in the public eye. So we can really connect their personal astrology with, you know, what's going on in the stars and the transits that are happening and the things in their own chart that are triggering it. And so how can you, as an individual who maybe has a similar chart or has a similar theme going on in their life, how can you take advantage of the astrological map that's happening, the transit that's happening, so that you can improve your life? You know, it isn't always destitution, and you know, this isn't the Greek interpretation of astrology anymore. We get to do something new in this age, where we're able to take astrology to not just help with future events, but help with our current situation, and, you know, look at what could possibly happen in the future, how you can avoid it, you know. And I'm very much into astrological energy to avoid the negative aspects. You know what I mean? Instead of taking my Mars example, for example, my Mars in the 12th house transit right now, and I started having nightmares, and I'm like, maybe I should stop watching scary movies. Maybe it's about that time to take a break. But I'm a little obsessed with like scary movies and things like that, because, you know, I'm a Scorpio moon. I can't help myself. I like those types of things. But at the end of the day, what can you do to avoid or to improve the situations that are happening in the sky? So that's the most exciting part about astrology. And I hope everyone who's listening gets that, you know, we're both very positive people, you know, Sag rising, like out here. Really fun. And looking into the astrology questions from our viewers. So hopefully If you guys out there are listening and would like your question answered, we're not going to do a full chart reading, but if there's a specific question that you have, you send us your information and we'll be able to give you a nice little answer overview of what the energies are, maybe the transits that are affecting you, or maybe it's just your natal chart, like, love questions about your career, what you can do to improve your career and your love life, as well as things about your children. I'm very, very averse in, relationships with children and family in astrology. So that's something else that I love to talk about, how you can improve your relationship with your child. A lot of people think that, if you have a Gemini child, that they're very unruly and they're very crazy. What can I do to control them, when they sometimes just need that freedom? Or the explorer, the Sagittarius explorer that is about to go to college and is moving halfway across the world. Like, let them go. They will resent you if you don't. So, those are the types of conversations that I've always had. And with my clients, with, the people that I meet on the street that are like, my child is driving me nuts. What's their sign? What's their sun sign? So ask us all those types of questions. And then, of course, I love to talk about the energy of the seasons. Fall is coming up, so we might give you an overview of the fall season, how you can use the energies of the transits that are coming up. And of course, this Aquarian age that we're in, I'm pretty obsessed with, and I know my co-host is obsessed with it.
My Aquarian moon self is all about this age of Aquarius too.
This is so cool. And there's many conversations about how we're not in the age of Aquarius, we're in the preview of the age. We're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the things that are lighting up the astrology, that are very Aquarian energy, from the music to the actions in politics, if we ever get into it, or even the examples of our everyday lives, the things that are happening every day on the street, with the environment, with nature. That are very much in the Aquarian, energy fields. So, as we go on, teaching the skills of astrology and sharing our wisdom, we hope that you will trust us to continue to learn and grow in your astrological journey. So,
and if I were to sum it up, I think, the Astro Read is almost going to be like an astrology type of talk show. And it's going to be us both, Clari and myself, Nayelli, synthesizing our knowledge in astrology to really share human stories, whether it's celebrities, our special guests that we'll be interviewing, the viewers that submit their questions, or even the self-help tips that we'll share of how you can utilize your natal chart to live your most authentic life, or life hack your life. So I would say for the Astro Read, the main components that you will likely encounter in our future episodes is celebrity news. We're all about it. We're going to analyze it from an astrological lens. I think the next celebrity that we'll be touching upon in the next episode will be Britney Spears. So I'm excited for us to dive deep into that. We're going to go over self-help tips, like like Clari mentioned, the energy of the season, what's going on with that, how can you navigate that, or just other self-help tips. From time to time, we'll be interviewing people. We'll be interviewing influencers and people that are really doing great work to help others, and getting a sense of how those individuals were destined almost from their natal chart to do the work they do, or why they were likely to enter into the path that they ended up in, or had the experiences that they had that have led to the work that they do now. And then we'll be taking viewer questions. So like Clari mentioned, if you have any questions that you would want answered, and that you're curious about your own life, feel free to either comment if you're listening to us on YouTube, for example, with your question and your birth data. You can also find us on social media. We'll probably have that information below in the description. And then you can also email the astroread@gmail.com if you want to more directly send your question to us via email. So you would just send your question, about your life, and then your birth details. So definitely birth dates. But if you have your time of birth and location of birth, that would be even better, because that allows us to kind of see the whole picture of your natal chart to answer your question as fully as possible. But birth date at a minimum, we would need to even consider your question to have insight. And yeah, I'm really excited to see, what's going to happen in future episodes. I guess before we wrap up this intro, would you be open, Clari, for each of us to share what our sun, moon, and rising signs are, and how that might play out in how our personalities are and how we approach things?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you can start if you like.
Yeah. Sounds good. Sounds good. So I am a Libra sun. Which is interesting because I don't really come across as a Libra, I think, because my rising sign is Sagittarius. So I think when people first meet me, or people that really don't know me on such an intimate level, which is a lot of people, based on my chart, they probably see me as a Sagittarian, always learning, always traveling, not, kind of the sense of home is always changing, very philosophical about life, for sure. I'm a lover of self-help books and philosophical type of books. So, I mean, I'm American, just like you are, Clari, but I live in Vancouver right now, and I've been living here since last year, and I've been living in Canada since 2016, with having lived in Toronto for a few years before living in Vancouver. But I'm a Jersey girl, just like you. I'm originally from New Jersey. So
it's so funny. It took you leaving a whole country to find me.
I know, how very alchemist. That could be a whole episode in and of itself, like how we found each other through fate and through Instagram, basically.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm very much a Sag rising, and then Libra, but at my core, I am a Libra, like that is my sun sign. And so I am very much, I try to be diplomatic, even though my Sag rising may not seem that way, because I'm very tell it like it is, but I am also diplomatic, and I love relationships and navigating relationships and having good relationships in my life, whether it's friendships, etc. And then my moon is Aquarius. So my inner self is, very Aquarian, which makes sense. I've been into astrology for years and years, ever since I was a kid. And similar to you, Clari, I've been in recent years taking it more seriously as far as a side project or a career, and really practicing it to the greater public instead of just friends and family, like I have done prior for so many years. So that's sort of, with my Aquarius moon, I am very interested in learning about the human experience and how people can work together, and the patterns in humanity and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of me in a nutshell: Libra sun, Sag rising, Aquarius moon. How about yourself?
So I am actually a Virgo rising, which I don't think people see me too much as, just because I'm not the example of health. But then again, I also have my Mars opposing my rising sign. So there's a lot of conflict and energy going on between those two. And I am a moon in Scorpio, which I think my conversations with people are much deeper than they really expect them to be. That's why I can get my nail manicurist to tell me her rising sign. And we have a whole conversation about her astrology, and all this crazy stuff happens to me. You would not even believe what sort of conversations I've had with people that I just met, and they just trust me completely, and just, spill their whole guts to me. And then of course I'm a sun Cancer. So I think that's more of the image that that people see me in the world, just because of the gentleness with which I approach people, and how I'm, sort of courteous and very formal in many ways. Just Cancer can't be without being, making a home. Wherever I go, oh, are you cooking? Let me help you. Are we doing this? Let's do this together. Very homey and welcoming to people. And that's really important to me, not only to have, in my relationships and my friendships, but in my own home. When people come to my house, I want them to feel that love and that energy of love. So I'm pretty much, a little ball of emotions, because I have a lot of water in my chart. But it's a fun experience to have in this life. Unfortunately, my south node is in my rising sign in Virgo. So I'm leaving this sort of energy in this lifetime, I'm assuming. I'm leaving this sort of energy of the self, of the selfishness or of the self-focus to really focus on relationships. So I thought it was really auspicious that as I'm starting, not just my astrologer journey on a serious level, but that I'm teaming up with someone else who's taking on astrology on a more serious plane and really looking at it from a deeper perspective, from a philosophical perspective, which my little Scorpio moon appreciates, because I love to talk about the deep and the depths of astrology and how people can heal themselves, how people can use astrology to gain better focus in their life and more positive energy in their life, as opposed to letting the malefic planets of, Mars and Sagittarius really rule this sort of perspective of negativity. Because a lot of people who run their astrology, I'm not, bragging on them, but it's a lot of negativity a lot of times because of the fear-based sort of mentality that we have as human beings. And I'm a freaking sorry for the F word. I am a person who takes everything very introspectively and really seriously. And so that energy really comes into how I treat others' astrology. I mean, I give people like 5-page readings, which is exhausting, but I really love to give them as much detail as I can so that they can navigate their natal chart in a positive way. So yeah.
Yeah, that's really great. And, it's great that you pointed out that, there is a lot of astrology out there. Not a lot, but I mean, definitely a good amount that's very like negative in a way, because it's very much like, well, this is how your natal chart, this is who you are. And that's it. And it's so interesting. Last night, I was listening to this Instagram live from Rising Woman, which is one of my favorite astrology related type of accounts. And she was mentioning how I think she's going to be involved in some sort of workshop or something like that, where they'll be talking about trauma-induced astrology, because they were talking about how there's astrologers out there that take such a fatalistic view, and it could be so negative for somebody. Imagine if you really want a relationship in your life, and then an astrologer tells you, well, based on this in your chart, you're never going to have a relationship. And it just makes somebody feel like, okay, I don't have any agency over my own life. And that's not, I think that might've been like maybe the more old school way that astrologers have navigated their astrology and reading somebody's chart. But I think we're both definitely kind of the new age type of astrologers that take the viewpoint of, you do have agency over your life. You do have free will. You can make the most out of your life. These are just the puzzle pieces to keep in mind, to use to your advantage, actually, taking a positive spin. And I think astrology is such a great tool for so many things, but I definitely think the number one is self-awareness. Once somebody knows who they are, which, believe it or not, a lot of people don't know who they are. Once you know who you are or start discovering that, that's half the battle. Then then you can become your own best friend or be on the way to that and kind of take things, continue to take things forward. But one final note that I'll definitely say is I just realized that based on our sun rising moons, we balance each other well. We're like two puzzle pieces coming together, because I'm very air and fire. Actually, my chart is not very fire. I'm weak in the fire element, but my rising sign is a fire sign. So that's like what people first see, that fiery, take charge kind of personality. But then I'm very air, very like head in the clouds, thinking of all these possibilities. And then you're very strong in the water element. So very emotional, can really tap into people's energies, and can, you have that ability of encouraging people to open up. And then you're also very grounded with your Virgo rising, with Virgo being an earth sign. So if we were like the elements coming together, you would be water and earth, and I would be air and fire. And together we make earth, wind, water, fire, like all the elements.
Earth, wind, and fire out here.
That's us. We're like the new version of that band, pretty much, but just talking about astrology instead of singing. Unless singing somehow comes up in a future episode. You never know. There's lots to uncover.
Of course. And I'm actually professionally trained, so I can sing. If you need a song, we'll sing, right?
Oh my gosh, maybe you could sing our upcoming jingle. We still have to have, so eventually, we're kind of starting the Astro Read bare bones. It's really going to be focused on us and all the insight we have to share and whatever our viewers contribute. But eventually, we're going to have to be legit and have like an opening sequence jingle. So Clari, that might be your voice. I mean,
that might be, have to step up. It might be my job to start thinking of some notes to take and some things to do with that. Yeah. But I wanted to share one little story about how I think of astrology truly. And it goes back to when I graduated college and story time, right? And I was having a really rough time. I mean, like my whole world was changing, like it was becoming very difficult to handle a lot of the things that were going on in my life. Let's just leave it at that. And of course, that was the end of the Sagittarius transit on Virgo, I believe, at that point. So I'm sitting there like minding my own business, and this wonderful person starts a video thing on YouTube. So I wanted to share that we're going to be sharing these on YouTube, and I hope that it reaches someone the same way it reached me, because she was talking about, moon in Scorpio. And I was like, what does that even mean? And that led me down a rabbit hole, to which point we're here at the Astro Read today, because that video saved my life. Learning about who I am astrologically has really helped me not only to learn about myself, but also how I interact with the world, which is, forgive yourself if you're shy. I'm not as, right now I'm not as shy as I usually am, but, in the real world, I am receptive. I am the water energy that I exude as a person, and being a type of person that's different is not healthy for me, and that's where I was at that point. Once I learned about moon in Scorpio and how I have receptive energy, how I am more, of a water sign energy that is more working with the elements around me, as opposed to really shaping them. Or if I shape them, just like a water can shape a rock, it takes a lot more time, So learning about these things can help each individual. And I hope that the Astro Read can reach you with that message, that you can heal yourself with astrology. You can take back control of your life with astrology. And most importantly, that astrology is happening. Whether or not you know about it, I talked about this already with you, whether or not you are experiencing astrology actively or passively, it's happening. The stars are moving. The energy is moving. The physics of astrology is happening. And if you are not in advance of it, the transits happening right now in Aquarius, I'm sure they're affecting you a lot. And, it's something that's very impactful for your life. And once you learn about this, you can use that energy, maybe it's in your 8th house, and that's an advantage for you to maybe buy a home, or to get into contract with someone, or to get into a relationship where you are able to have more depth, or even take advantage of the energy of Aquarius in the 12th house, where you will be able to relax and connect with yourself on a deeper level. So those are the different things that I hope that we're able to connect with you, and that the viewers really see that we're here to do for them. So I'm very excited.
I'm super excited. There's definitely a lot of astrology podcasts out there, but I think what we're doing is definitely a different spin on things. And I think it's going to be very cool. And it's going to be, I think it's going to be so exciting to do this with you. But then also, I just think it's going to help a lot of people. And I'm really so excited to see how it continues to pan out. So definitely everybody, if you're listening now, welcome to the Astro Read community. And we definitely encourage you to keep on tuning in and keep on listening, because the sky's the limit as far as the things we'll end up discussing. And I'm really interested to seeing how it continues to manifest. So until later, and then eventually we'll have eventually we'll have an official tagline for the end of our podcast too. But for now, it's see you later. Until later. And this is the Astro Read.
Bye.
Bye.